You ever have one of those days where you wake up feeling like you own the world and by lunchtime, you're just hoping you still own your own front door? Yeah, let me tell you, that's exactly where this story starts. I swear, if anyone ever tries to warn you about HOAs, just listen. Don't be a hero like me, thinking that's their circus, not mine. Because sometimes that circus packs up, moves right next door, and then tries to charge you admission. So here's my so-called paradise, a ragged little cabin on the edge of a perfect lake, hemmed in by pines, loons crying out at sunset, real silence, the kind you don't even realize you've missed till you hear it again. This place isn't fancy. The cabin's from the 70s, and I don't mean the groovy avocado appliance 70s. It's all rough pine walls, a stove older than disco, and until I moved in, barely a trace of electricity. I put up solar panels, got myself a well, and figure this is it. No neighbors, no city, nobody telling me my grass is too long. Only there were neighbors, sort of. The only way to get to my land was down a crumbling old logging road that over the years had gotten surrounded by some development. McMansions, you know the type. Gates, community pools, probably half the residents working remote tech jobs they brag about at block parties. Their houses were brand new. My road? Probably older than most of their marriages. But I drove through there every Friday, nodding politely to the occasional dog walker, hauling groceries and hardware for whatever half-finished project I was tackling that week. Nobody ever waved back, and that was fine. For 3 years, we lived in this unspoken truce. They pretended I didn't exist. I didn't give a damn what they were up to either. And then this is how it always goes, right? Everything blew up on a Friday. I got up to my cabin, went to unlock the door, and there was a big, screaming orange notice taped right smack in the middle. Not slipped under the mat, not politely stuck to a window, but taped on like someone thought I'd try to escape with the evidence. The words "notice of violation" practically glowed. It was accusing me of owing $5,000 in back dues, said I'd been using their amenities, news to me, and demanded I paint my place slate gray within 30 days or else face daily fines. I mean, imagine standing there in the middle of the woods reading legalese about amenity fees when you haven't so much as sniffed their pool, let alone set foot inside their fancy clubhouse. The whole point of being out there was to not be part of some beige-painted, rules-ridden suburban fantasy. The paper was signed by a president, some name I'd never even heard. Turns out there'd been a change in the HOA regime, and apparently I was now on their radar. All weekend, I went back and forth between mad and laughing. I tried to talk myself down. Maybe they were confused. Maybe someone just screwed up some paperwork. So Monday morning, I call up their office. The lady on the phone sounds bored, says she'll have the president call me back. That call, started out polite, ended up in some alternate universe. The president tells me, flat out, that just because I live in what she calls a shack doesn't mean I'm above the law. Her words. I try to stay calm, pointed out my place was here first, not part of their subdivision, and that old logging road was mine by right. She didn't want to hear it. When properties are incorporated into a planned community, she says, all residents are subject to the same standards. We can't have eyesores dragging down everyone else's property values. I probably could have handled it better, but my patience ran out. I told her, lady, my cabin was here before your HOA, before your gates, before your covenants. She just snapped. If you refuse to comply, we'll pursue legal remedies. And then click. She hung up. I sat there, listening to the dial tone, wondering if I'd just woken up in a world where history didn't matter and common sense had packed up and left. Now, you'd think that'd be the worst of it, right? Wrong. The next week, I get another notice, now accusing me of failure to remove unauthorized signage. The sign? That was the first orange notice. Apparently, I was being fined for not taking down the thing they put up on my door. It'd be hilarious if it wasn't so exhausting. The absurdity just kept ramping up. One weekend, I heard a diesel engine rumbling up my road. Looked out, and there's a tow truck hooking up my old pickup, which is parked well inside my own property. Standing off to the side, arms crossed, directing the operation like she's filming a reality show, is the HOA president herself. I stormed outside and asked the driver what the hell he was doing. He looked nervous, muttered something about abandoned vehicles, HOA violation, and just following orders. I showed him my deed, my registration. The guy walks the property lines, checks the survey markers, and then says, "Yeah, this is definitely private property. Can't touch it without a court order." The president loses it, starts yelling at the tow truck driver about doing his job. He shrugs, says he's not paid enough for this, and leaves me there with the president glaring daggers at my head. That's when I called a lawyer. Just for advice, you know? Not looking to start a war, but wanted to know my rights. He listens, laughs a little, says it sounds like the HOA doesn't have a legal leg to stand on, but warns me some boards will spend thousands trying to prove they're right. He tells me to document everything, keep records, don't let anything slide. Of course, that wasn't the end. The HOA held a meeting, didn't mention me by name, but sure made a show of problem properties and threats to neighborhood standards. I showed up, sat in the back, watched the president's face twist through about 8 shades of red when I raised my hand and told everyone the facts. My cabin wasn't part of their development. My land predated their board. I'd never signed a single thing agreeing to their rules. You could feel the room split right down the middle. Half the folks looked uncomfortable. The other half started questioning whether their board even had the authority to come after me. The president kicked me out, but I'd done what I needed. Put the truth out there, made them own it. Did it work? Of course not. 2 weeks later, a process server shows up with a lawsuit, 15 pages of nonsense, demanding back dues, daily fines, and even more fees. Their evidence was nothing but claims that my land had been incorporated into their Communitino survey. No legal documents, just their word. Back to the lawyer I go. He shakes his head, tells me this is either the laziest lawsuit he's seen or a pretty blatant attempt to bully me into giving up. This time, he suggests we go on the offensive, file counterclaims, get a real surveyor and title researcher involved. Might as well settle this once and for all. In the middle of all that, it gets served again. This time, the HOA's filed for a restraining order, claiming I'm a threat to the community. I'm not kidding. According to them, my very existence is damaging to property values and public safety. If you're laughing, trust me, I was too, until I realized how much time and money this was burning up. Court day arrives. The HOA's brought half the board and a fleet of lawyers plus a PowerPoint loaded with grainy photos of my place from every angle. Their argument? My cabin's a menace, an eyesore, bringing ruin to their neighborhood. My lawyer stands up with a single old document, original patent deed for my property dated 1924. Says, "Your Honor, this land predates the HOA by decades. Here's the survey. Here's the easement. In fact, the HOA's main gate and clubhouse are built right on the right-of-way that goes with my land." The judge goes quiet, looks at their lawyers. "Did you even do a title search?" They mumble. The judge sighs, so that's a no. Case dismissed. Restraining order denied. He even orders the HOA to pay my legal fees and costs. Says the whole thing should never have gotten this far. But doesn't stop there. My lawyer files a counterclaims lander of title, interference, the works. The judge nods. The HOA board, meanwhile, is in meltdown mode. Their president's suddenly not so chatty. Rumors start flying about recall petitions, mounting bills, residents demanding answers. Negotiations drag on, but eventually they cave. I get my fees, plus damages, plus a signed agreement that I'm not under their authority and they'll never try this stunt again. I even got enough out of it to upgrade my solar panels, install a new battery system, and build a proper gate with a sign that reads, "Private property not subject to HOA. Proceed at your own risk." Now, things are quiet again. The new HOA board sent me a letter of apology. Most folks just wave as I pass through. A few even come up to say they're glad I stood my ground. And every time I look out over my lake, sun setting, peace settling, I remember what it cost me, sure. But I also remember the lesson. Sometimes you've got to stand your ground. Sometimes the only way to win is to make them realize you were never playing their game in the first place. Funny thing is, I never wanted to fight. I just wanted to be left alone. But life doesn't always give you what you want sometimes. It gives you a circus and a front row seat to watch karma do its work. Now, let me ask you, if you'd been in my shoes, would you have fought back or just paid the fees to keep the peace? Ever been railroaded by an HOA or someone in power who didn't actually have it? Drop your stories below. I'd love to know how you handled it. And hey, do you think justice was served, or did I just get lucky? Let's hear what you think.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.